There is green everywhere, signifying the richest of possibilities and futures, perhaps the only oasis of tomorrow. And beyond, as the temperatures rise, our futures grow dim. This is a dramatization, but not a far-fetched scenario. It is a reality that is confronting small island states like St. Lucia with every drop of rain or every season of drought. Here it is peaceful, green, alive, and ideally our God-given refuge for future generations. Consider this a tour of the real estate, home to plants and animals, endemics and endangered species. This could, one day, provide a safe haven for exiles of climate change, those who now live in coastal communities. The view from here is breathtaking. The quickly unraveling reality miles away along the coastline is unsettling. Today it appears deceptively calm, the picture-perfect Caribbean setting that is our invitation to thousands of tourists every year, our passport to economic survival. We have built hotels and amenities near the water's edge to entice visitors and investors seeking escape or economic activity in our Edens. We have built towns with critical infrastructure, harbors, airports, roads, commercial centers, and government offices right along the waterfront. We boast of quaint communities where our youth live and play on sandy beaches. But it now appears that these beaches could disappear in their lifetime.
That is something to wake us up, that we need to act and act swiftly, but decisively.
This is their unavoidable reality as the world outside produces more cars and consumes more fossil fuels. Far away from our shores, industrialization has created manufacturing capitals, spewing greenhouse gases and deforested tracts of land, which destroy our futures for the greed of now. As greenhouse gas emissions increase, the planet gets warmer and our future quality of life becomes unviable.
When you destroy the environment, like what greenhouse gas emissions and global warming are doing, you potentially are disrupting and limiting the capacity of your economy in future and limiting what your resources can do for you in future. And we want them to realize that for us to continue to make our nations prosperous, they need to keep the environment in a way for us that we can still utilize it when our time comes to utilize it.
For island states like St. Lucia, this means our roads, our homes, buildings, infrastructure, and our archaeological and historic sites, and yes, our economy is imperiled by sea level rise.
Our coastal areas are perhaps among the most vulnerable, of our countries because they will bear the brunt of storms and sea level rise, for example.
Most of our hotels are built right along the beach, right in the path of devastating storm surges. Our towns, villages, and low-lying areas now get flooded moments after heavy rainfall.
Our coastal infrastructure, our coastal settlements, our coastlines as a whole are highly prone to erosion, highly prone to storm surge, highly prone to flooding because, very often our coastal communities are set in floodplains, okay? And on the West Coast, both on the West Coast and the East Coast, we've seen certain communities flood, almost instantly when, once the waters, come down the valleys. So, again, it is a lesson for us in terms of how we plan. So as we expand our settlements and as we look at new settlements, we have to look at how they're located, how they're designed, and so on.
These scenarios are predicted to get worse if the global temperature continues to rise. The cost of damage is insurmountable and rising. As it is now, island states like St. Lucia, in the path of annual hurricanes, are struggling to recover from violent storms and the intense rain events of the past 10 years. The biggest threat to our survival is not human terrorism, but a more insidious environmental terrorism perpetuated by one group or another in search of growth with no limits, an impossibility. Our coastal communities could be overwhelmed by sea level rise if there is no binding legal agreement to keep global temperatures well below 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels.
1.5 degrees Celsius is literally the brink for us as Caribbean countries, because already with a 1.5 degrees Celsius change by the year 2030, I believe it is, we are going to be experiencing sea level rises of 1 meter, and the amount of flooding that occurred in Castries on Friday is nothing compared to what will happen after a sea level rise of 1 meter.
And 1.5 degrees Celsius negotiation that our CARICOM and SEED Small Island Developing States are negotiating for is to help us to stay alive.
The predictions of climate change experts can no longer be ignored.
Well, it is projected that airports will be lost. We will, of course, lose our beaches, and most of our beaches are where our hotels are located.
If sea levels continue to rise and storm surges become more violent, our beaches could disappear, and with it, our tourism industry and thousands of direct and indirect jobs.
That is a very scary possibility, especially in the Caribbean. Rises in sea levels will virtually eliminate the coastlines of a lot of our countries. Ghana already experiences very serious flooding with water and storm surge coming over their seawall right now.
1.5 to stay alive is not some random slogan in an arbitrary environmental campaign. This is a matter of life and death. It is a plea to the global community for help. Islands that contribute very little to global warming are being affected the most.
It is unfair that we as small island people, not having contributed significantly to climate change, are the ones bearing the greater impact. And then we have to find ways to adapt to climate change.
St. Lucia is among the 20 most vulnerable countries in the world to climate change.
CYEN wants the international community to realize and to recognize that climate change is serious. It is not going to only affect small island developing states. It is going to affect everybody.
This is already our reality. Sea level rise, more violent hurricanes, more intense droughts and floods, coral bleaching, destruction of coral reefs, displacement of coastal communities, and drowning of graves and cemeteries. Submergence, not a far-fetched reality. Not even the dead has immunity.
It is incumbent on the developed nations, those who have contributed greatly to climate change, to assist small island developing states in making that step forward to mitigating the impacts of climate change and adapting to climate change.
As it is in our society, there are many people who believe that it's just a myth that foreigners have created to scare us into submission, but we need to face the reality that it is truth and that it is happening.
This is our dramatization of a doomsday scenario. Island people cannot help but feel like we're being forced into the deep end. Each passing deadline, each postponed decision on a limit of 1.5 degrees Celsius sinks us deeper into the abyss of uncertainty. We're now at the deep end and we need action now. Missing that opportunity is the luxury of the rich and the curse of the poor, who are the majority. This is no time for indecision, for it is an issue of justice, climate justice, which if delayed, is denied.
Let's try our best to help keep this paradise. Let's try our best to help reserve that vulnerable ecosystem that we have. We need a future, my future, and the future of all young people is at stake.